Okay, I think it is about time we get started.
All
Um,
right, I guess
y-
no more bathroom talk.
no more bathroom talk.
Good
Okay,
morning,
yeah.
everyone.
Hey guys, welcome to the very first OC University interview. So, if you guys are new here, which I assume a lot of you are, OC University is starting this series of week-long interviews where what we do is we dedicate one full week of interviews to a particular topic where we try to go really in depth, and we will have a bunch of different guests lined up to do their own individual interviews throughout the week. And then at the end of the week, we will have one final wrap-up interview where we get multiple of the guests together to sort of elaborate on each other's thoughts and conclude the topic for the week, answering any last questions. So, um, yeah, this is the first of those interviews, and this week we'll be focusing on nerve control. So, with me today is Mr. Edward Ling,
Good morning.
otherwise known as BTMC, uh, or
Hey.
or just Ed.
Yeah. Ed, Edward. Yep, it's all good.
So, I am sure if if you are listening to this, you probably also know who Ed is. But Ed, could you just introduce yourself? Tell us what we might know you as or know you for.
I am BTMC, formerly Beast Troll MC. I'd like to see myself as a top player within the Osu game. I love Osu, but I also stream the game a lot normally.
Right.
Yeah, Osu Twitch streamer, hopefully YouTuber. Yeah, pretty sick.
Yeah, when you remember your password.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't start the stage. Wait a minute.
Oh, bloopers.
Uh-oh, bloopers.
Bloopers.
Can make it public. Oh my god, that would be awesome. Okay, oopsies. There we go.
All right, do we have to redo everything?
No. I'll just leave that in the video. It's fine.
What's up, guys? Welcome. Okay.
Yeah, so those of you watching from YouTube, subscribe, lol. But
Smash the like button. Do it now.
check out the channel if you want to see the other interviews from this week and potentially future weeks, depending on when you're watching this. Um, but yeah, so Mr. Edward, I think a good place to get started is if you could just define very simply in your own words, like what do you think of like when you say nerve control, like how would you explain what nerve control is?
The first thing that comes to mind is your ability to handle like tension as you're playing. So like over time you get nervous as you're setting a score. That's kind of normal, right? But your ability, I'm thinking more of like the later half of like as the inevitable of nervousness builds up, how do you deal with it, or what strategies do you use to go about handling that sort of environment, right? So that's the first thing that comes to mind. But obviously there are there's an entire scale of like, okay, what happens before, like preparation before, things you can do to prevent it, etc., etc. But yeah, I'm mainly focused on like the later half.
Oh, preparations, like preparing yourself for getting nervous? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, like I remember a long ass time ago. Can we do cursing here? Is cursing allowed?
Um, I think if I said no, it's fine. Just do your own thing.
All right. So like I remember a long ass time ago, I was trying to come up with various different ways that might help me play Osu game, and I found that like holding water, like drinking water, but holding a little bit of water in my mouth would actually help me like
What?
concentrate more or something. So I was like, oh shit, maybe I should make like an Osu ritual in order to help me play better. But then I just got annoyed and like the handling it was like annoying. So I was like, okay, I'll just get better. So yeah.
Did that have any effects though?
It looked like, I'm not sure if it was just placebo or if it was just like, I don't know, but like I used to hold water in my mouth when I played. That ironically helped.
Um, okay, that is not what I expected the first nerve control tip to be.
I mean, it kind of worked for me. You can try it for yourself.
So, in okay, I guess I also want to ask what situations do you find to be like the hardest to control your nerves?
Ooh, when expectations are high. So, as in the standpoint of a streamer, man, right? I realize that there's lots of expectations for me, and the fear of letting people down is one of the biggest things I struggle with. So it's like when people want me to set scores or when people depend on me to like perform in a match, things like that. I feel like those are the scenarios where I struggle the most in terms of nerve control when the stakes are extremely high. Yep.
So, as someone who I think a lot of people would actually consider you like the face of the Osu category, at least on Twitch. Um, I think does that sort of expectation like or like as you are building up your audience and things like that, how were you able to like cope with that sort of pressure? And like what are some of the different methods that you tried, or is it just a matter of getting used to that environment of having people watching you and having those expectations on you?
Well, in terms of people watching me, I never really had that big of an issue with it, mainly because like the growth over time has really been like it's been like a steady sort of climb, right? So like I guess I used to get nervous when there was like one or two people, but what's the difference between one or two people and then five people? And then a couple days later, what's the difference between five people and then maybe seven people? And then over time, it just continues to snowball. So where nowadays, okay, there's like hundreds, sometimes thousands of people watching, but like I've kind of just like gradually gotten used to that over time, right?
Right.
So the actual action of people spectating me isn't exactly what is the root cause of it. I guess it's more of like, okay, the people that I genuinely care for and know that depend on me, those are the people that sometimes I will think about while I'm playing, and I realize, oh shit, yeah, it would kind of suck if I were to miss right now. Yeah.
Oh. So would do you sometimes have like more pressure on yourself knowing that there's one specific person watching?
Yes.
Right. Because I remember you had this, should I call it like incident or like event, when BoxBox rated you and asked you to FC Airman? You have a YouTube video about that, I remember.
Yeah.
Wait, can you tell us about sort of the
Right.
pressure and how
So
you dealt with that situation?
right. So Albert hosted me, aka Box, and he's like got his entire channel to start spamming my chat. Oh, FC Airman or else, right? And I saw that, I was like, oh shit, this is super fucking cool, right? So obviously I wanted to give it a try, but during that time I was in like this very like I was rusty, dude. My aim is like really bad. So I had like zero confidence to actually FC the map. But I decided to actually like go in with those like zero expectations because it's one of those things where like even though I don't have the confidence to do it myself, because like given the situation, if I don't even try, that would be the worst possible outcome. Not trying would be the worst possible outcome. So I decided to try anyway, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Okay,
after
I
a
see.
couple tries, it actually seemed okay. Maybe this is doable. Maybe this is possible. It wasn't like perfect content worthy where I did it like first try or something like that. But I grinded it for a little bit and it eventually happened, which was really sick. Although, like, it could have been better, obviously, but I think the end result was still really cool. Um,
Yeah.
but is there any specific detail that you wanted me to go into
Y-
regarding that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you mentioned that like when he rated you and you were rusty, like you didn't really have the confidence. And
Yeah, exactly.
sort of what I'm understanding is that you took confidence, like you sort of created confidence through the situation.
Right.
And
Like,
does
for
is that
sure, if
right?
I was just playing solo, I would not have played Airman. Like, if it weren't for the fact that the pressure of people, of letting people down, of being like, oh, I don't want to play Airman right now, guys. I'm sorry, I'm playing like shit. Right.
Right.
If it weren't for that sort of pressure of disappointing everyone, I wouldn't have even tried.
All right. So, um, what I remember is that you ended up, was it an SS or just an FC?
SS.
Okay. Right. So Airman has, I think, like two or three breaks. And like, what are, because I'm sure there was at least some sort of pressure building in your head of like, oh my God, like FCing at the last break, like, This would be such good content. Like, is that
Yeah,
is that something that
literally.
you say often when you're about to get a good run?
So, within the map, as I kept playing it through, it's one of those things where like I know specific sections of the map that are like check marks. So as I get through the check marks, I'm like, okay, we cleared this, and then we move on to the next. Okay, we cleared that. Okay,
Right.
move on to the next. But there's always even and like over time, those check marks sort of disappear, and as they disappear, I get less and less nervous as I realize, wait, I'm actually really consistent on this. I don't need like that mental check mark kind of fades away. But there's always one. But it's like the least the fewer the check marks, the more nervous passing each check marks I get,
Right, and I think
right?
by check mark, you basically mean, like, milestone, for example? Like,
Yeah,
after you pass a
exactly.
certain part of the map. Okay.
Exactly. So like as those check marks disappear, as I realize, wait, maybe my aim isn't that bad. Maybe this could be doable. Let's keep going. My motivation increases, but that also means that my nerves for getting past a certain section of the map also increases until I got to that one point where it was literally that back and forth pattern that everyone dies on, right? It
Right.
was just that one pattern. So I wouldn't get nervous until I play that pattern. And if I hit it, heart rate skyrockets, nerves like invade, the war begins within my chest. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right, but
Um,
you're still able to, maintain your composure at least enough to actually get the score. I know over, like, the last week when we introduced the guests for the Nerf Control interviews, I saw a lot of people like, "Why is BTMC here?" BTMC and nerves, like, have you seen his heart rate? But I think one of the main reasons why I wanted to get you on is just I think like your very unique perspective, being one a content creator, and two I think just from what I understand, you've gone through a lot of different methods trying to control your nerves, and that's something that I wanted to see if we could explore.
right. So, I actually have two different, I guess, like perspectives when it comes to nerve control because the position that I'm in as a content creator, I view getting nervous as an advantage. Like that's content when a creator gets nervous, right?
Oh,
I don't
okay,
want to suppress that.
right,
So, from my perspective, instead of like preventing yourself from getting nervous, I focus more on how can I deal with nerves? How can I continue playing while showing signs that I'm nervous? Because I do genuinely care about the score. I do genuinely care that people are watching me, right?
right,
I feel like it's less fun for people watching if the streamer's just brain dead, like playing the game. Like I want to express my emotions while I'm playing, and I feel like people value seeing that a player can show that sort of enthusiasm with the game that they enjoy. So I actually don't. I focus less on the prevention of nerves and would rather focus more on the what's called the dealing with it. Now that situation changes when it's for tournaments. If you've seen my tournaments, I my facial expression is kind of different. Going into a map, I'm like completely stone faced. Like as
right.
I'm playing, even when I break, I'm completely stone faced. That's because everything matters then. But when I'm just playing solo, I'm like I don't try to restrict it because I feel like it's better for my stream.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I think um how do I word this? You're like what's the word? The I think intensity, yeah, the intensity of like the situation that you create when you are like outwardly nervous and showing your nerves to the stream is I think something that keeps a lot of, viewers on their like, edge of their seat. And like I think especially sometimes I open your stream and just the way that you present yourself and like talk about the run, like, oh my god, this is it. This is it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Like I remember when I specifically like set my sights on becoming a content creator, I wanted to bring something new. Like I remember when I was like 14 or 15 years old, I was like, okay, all right, YouTube or Twitch or something. What type of content do I enjoy? And could I replicate that? Right. So I was watching other OSU streamers and OSU YouTubers and stuff. And when they set scores, it's like it's nothing to them. It's like like, oh, that's cool, I guess. Sometimes
Right.
they wouldn't even say anything, right? It's just the score and then that's it. I'm like, that's fucking lame. Like, if this was such like a huge achievement for them, surely they would like express themselves in some way to like show that, right? But most of the time it's just like, huh, I got it. On to the next. Like, come on, bro. Like, so I had that in mind as I was like when I first started. Like, I didn't want to hold myself back. If I was playing a score and I knew that this was a score that I wanted, like, I'm not gonna prevent myself or just like, you know, like suppress myself to do it.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to like express myself.
So
So
when you started playing tournaments, is that something that you sort of had to realize that just doesn't work in a tournament environment, and you sort of adapted your method of controlling nerves?
So the main difference is that in solo play, I'm the only one who gets affected, right?
Right.
So if I choke, big deal. It's still good content, right? Oh man, he choked. Oh no, right? But if it's in tournaments, there are people, there are teammates that genuinely depend on me, and I feel like it would be unsportsmanship like for me to not give 110%.
Right.
So if I can spare, like if something like actually like being fully focused could help me like perform better for my team, 100% I'm going to do that.
So, is there anything, any sort of like mental gymnastics that you try to tell yourself in a tournament match that's different from in solo, and that sort of prevents you from getting nervous in the first place?
I don't know. When I'm playing in solo, I kind of just have this like mindset of just not giving a fuck. But I do recognize that, especially this gets into the part where I focus on not on actually dealing with nerves. So I find that the more that I focus on the oh shit, this could be an insane score, the more that I get nervous, right?
Right.
So I've developed this sort of mental habit that if I start thinking that way, to just look at the circles. Like actually like look and stare at the circles. Like it sounds weird, but like the more you think about the potential future outcome, the less that you're focused on what's on screen right now. It's like your
Right.
mind is shifting towards the future rather than sticking with the present. And I feel like that's a big reason why people miss in the present, right?
Yeah,
So
I
by
agree.
just try but by trying to like shift my focus back into what's happening right now, that sort of like gradually fades out that future potential. Of course that thought always seeps its way back in, but it kind of helps reduce nerves in the moment. And that's why I use a lot, especially in tournaments.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with the whole, like, I think ultimately where nerves come from is you thinking about something future oriented, like, "Oh, this score would be good if I got the FC." Um,
Right.
yeah, so I agree, and that actually, so you mentioned, like, just focusing straight up on the circles. So there was a question brought in from Ches Bananas, who I think you might actually know.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's awesome.
right, he's pretty cool. So he asked this question: any thoughts on how to avoid over focusing? I don't really get nervous in matches or shake at all, but I tend to get in my own head a lot, thinking a lot about the process of playing Osu, like reading, tapping, etc., which leads to a sort of tunnel vision effect and making my gameplay, especially reading, much worse. It's very noticeable on things like awkward aim with large jumps and low AR. But it still contributes to a general feeling of discomfort during all maps. Thanks for answering. So yeah, here he's basically asking, like, when you are fixating on the circles, especially during a match, like, how do you avoid over fixating on the circles and just sort of losing focus entirely?
Right. So this is also another thing that I sort of like figure out on my own. Whenever I try to think about how I play the game, that always does me injustice. I find I say this to myself and on stream a lot to just like trust my hands. Sometimes when I kind of just let go and just let my hands do their thing, it sometimes will usually work out, right?
Right.
Like sometimes if I'm like completely just mind blocked on a pattern, I'll be like, okay, this is the last try, and I just like completely just like use like 20% effort, but that's usually the try that actually like works for some
Oh,
reason.
okay. Yeah.
It's really weird, but it's like trying like I understand the perspective of over focusing. I struggle with that myself. I would think that, okay, if I'm concentrating on one specific thing, that would actually help me improve at it. But I find that putting 100% focus into one specific thing, like he mentioned, like Ches mentioned before, takes away the focus from the entire thing. So
Right.
it really is kind of difficult to kind of just, it's almost like you have to go completely brain dead when you play Osu, bro. It's so weird. You don't think about anything, you don't concentrate about anything. You just like turn the brain off and then boom, SS. It's yeah,
There,
yeah.
yeah, there's this concept. I'll try not to get into it too much, but those of you listening, if you want to look into it more, there's this concept called automaticity that basically is what
I
Ed
don't
is
know how to spell
describing.
that.
Oh, auto, AUTOMA. Wait, let me make sure I get this right. Automaticity. So AUTOMATICITY. So automaticity.
Automatic City.
Yeah,
Nice.
automatic itty, I guess. But it's basically the idea that you don't want to think too consciously about the process of something that you are already comfortable doing very automatically. Like, for example, when you're walking, you don't think consciously about each step that you're taking.
Right.
And if you do, it sort of messes you up sometimes. So
Hmm.
yeah, that idea I think definitely relates to Osu and any other skill-based activity, really like playing an instrument like piano or something like that. So yeah, definitely agreed.
Yep.
So a couple other points that I wanted to bring up. So I know, I think it was a couple years ago, you started experimenting with like breathing exercises
Yes.
to control your nerves. Is that something you could explore a little bit? Because
Right.
actually, so there is one question. I guess I'll just reference this question because it's what made me think about it. By Bricks23 asked, "Do you think cardiovascular exercises would help lowering the heart rate when nervous?" So yeah,
Yes. Yes. I feel those exercises are extremely important. The problem is if you're focusing on doing the breathing, you're not focusing on the game. So it's kind of like a balance, right?
right.
I'll typically do the breathing exercises during breaks. So like you can audibly hear me like inhale like, and you can audibly hear that my exhale is a lot longer than my inhale, and that's
Okay.
by design because like during I believe this is a technique used in like the military or something, because those are extremely high stressful situations where soldiers have to control themselves, right?
Right.
I'm not trying to say that Osu is like going to war, but in a similar way, you do have to control your nerves in high stressful environments, such as setting a score. So those correlations are still there where they can be beneficial. Mainly just controlling your breathing and making sure that you take your time when you exhale. That has shown to have benefits of lowering your heart rate, decreasing stress, etc. It's just when people try to implore that as they're actually playing, yeah, it takes focus away, and I find that doesn't really help. If it's during a section where you're actually like where it's not that challenging to you, sure, that could work out. But if it's like if you're actually needing to focus, I don't think you should focus on controlling your breathing. Just go balls deep, bro.
So yeah, I think to sort of summarize what I understood there. So short inhales and long exhales
Precisely.
when you get the chance, and don't just focus specifically or entirely on your breathing because that can distract you from the gameplay itself.
Right. I mean, it also helps with sleeping as well, dude. Controlling your breathing or just just controlling your breathing in general is just a very useful skill slash talent to learn.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
It's just being mindful of it.
Do you have any other, was it mostly like short inhale, long exhale breathing exercises that you experimented with?
There are
Or
like certain times, like, oh, breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds, or something like that. What I find is that as long as the exhale is longer than the inhale, it's close enough.
okay. Are there any other similar breathing exercises that you experimented with that you found
Not
success with?
not that's actually applicable, I guess, because
Okay.
there are I've looked into like meditation and stuff for like maintaining mental health and things, and I tried for a little bit of employing that, but it just requires so much focus because meditation requires focus, like a lot of brain power for you
Yeah.
to like block out other like thoughts and shit. So I feel like the only applicable one that would be useful within the situation of Osu game would just be controlled breathing.
Okay, I see. And yeah, because I remember, I think it was Painters where I was watching you play Painters or something,
Right.
or the Sun, the Moon, the Stars, some really long streamy map, and you were like doing these breathing exercises, and it was actually helping. So is it something that you still do these days, or are there other?
100%.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, almost every single day. Every time I sleep, this is what I use to knock myself out. Every time like I'm playing a map and I get to a hard section, like you can literally hear me on stream just like breathing like
Oh,
and you can
uh,
see it in my heart rate when I'm like exhaling. Like when I'm inhaling, it might raise a little bit, but as soon as I exhale, that slow release of air just like tanks the heart rate. It's insane.
right. So in sort of like high pressure plays that you're setting, especially during breaks, I would assume is when you really try to focus on your breathing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, as a streamer, especially, so this is actually something that like a couple years ago I was like, I cannot imagine how any streamer manages to get a score, because whenever you're holding a good run, your whole chat just explodes in your peripheral vision.
I
Like,
like that. I think that's awesome.
is that something that distracts you, or does it actually work in your favor?
Oh hell no, dude! I get excited, bro. I'm like, oh shit, this is it, bros. This could be it. I get fueled by my chat. I think it's actually an unhealthy habit because it basically like dictates a lot of my emotions based off of like how my channel is performing, which is a very easy way to put yourself on a bad spiral because it only works if your channel is like going up. But when your channel starts underperforming, and your emotions start underperforming, it's a very quick way to snowball. But it's
Oh,
hard to resist. Okay, when everyone's getting excited in chat, it's hard to prevent yourself from feeding off of that sort of energy.
right, yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think like on a similar note, is that something that you sort of take into account, like when like your expectation of how good a run is, and so like your expectation of how crazy your chat should be going versus like how crazy your chat is actually going, like is that something you sort of think about? If that makes sense?
So you're saying like whether or not chat's expectation or chat's judgment of how difficult a map is based off of like how fast the chat is moving or something like that in comparison to what I think the difficulty of a map is.
Yeah, like let's say you're like, oh my god, this run is so crazy, chat's gonna go insane, and then like it doesn't really go as insane as you expect. Is that something that kind of throws you off sometimes, or do you not really
So
think about it?
in the perspective of a streamer, if I think something is crazy, I can usually explain it to my chat and like show like chat, this is fucking crazy. Like,
Right.
dude, I just hit this fucking pattern and it just went like blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like based off of that, like it's kind of like training my chat in a way. I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Oh,
But
okay.
when it's the other way around, I don't really take an issue with people like I guess overhyping over like small stuff because I see it from the perspective of the viewer. Like a viewer who's never played Osu, who's like new to the game, watching a top player, they're like, "Holy shit, how are they doing this?" Right?
Yeah.
I really dislike the whole elitist like what's called
Mentality
yeah, the whole
or
mentality
perspective.
that like, oh, why are you hyping at 200 combo? I
Oh,
don't want to
yeah.
encourage that, but like if someone is genuinely new to the game and it's like, oh my god, how are they doing this? They already got to this part of the map, even if it may not be the hardest section. I don't want to uh uh I don't want to discourage it. I don't want
Right.
to punish someone for just not knowing that much, right? And I
Right.
feel like a lot of other top players take a stance against like directly like against that. They get annoyed by it. I know Idke had a thing against like early hypers or just like spam in
Yeah.
general, and I was just like, well, I respect how he handles his channel back then, but nah, fuck that, dude. You can do whatever the fuck you want in my chat, dude. This is a channel that is controlled by chat. All right.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, but okay, so regarding chat and like I guess how often you check your chat, especially in high stakes, really good runs or something. So
Right.
you mentioned the difference between solo and tournament play for you, like in solo play, you kind of just don't really care, for lack of better words.
For the most part, yeah.
But
Unless it's like, oh, this could be like YouTube worthy type stuff. I'm
oh,
like, oh
okay.
shit, okay, time to mega focus, right?
Right. So in tournaments versus in solo, is there a difference between like how often you check chat, like during a break or something? Do you sometimes like in a tournament you just like don't even look at chat at all?
In tournaments, I'm usually focused entirely on my team. So I play a lot of team based tournaments compared to solo tournaments.
Right.
So it's hard to both focus on my team, my gameplay, and my chat. So unfortunately, usually my chat is the one that gets neglected.
Right.
When I'm playing solo, I do incorporate my chat a lot, especially in between maps and like just like discussing things. And be like, okay, what could they pick? Oh, chat. It would be insane if I were to pick this map over this map, or
Right.
actually, based off of their performance, they could be picking this X Y Z. Right.
Yeah.
I focus a lot on streamer to chat, like interactions. I feel like that's very important as a content creator.
Yeah.
And that's also similar to what I do in game. But to be honest, I don't feel like that affects my nerves at all. Like
Okay.
I see that more as like me doing my job and like me having
Okay.
fun rather than, oh shit, could this like is me interacting with my chat going to make me 20% nervous to the point where it could cause me to the one miss like 200 combo into the map, which could make a significant difference in the score and in order for me to lose. Like I don't think it's that deep, bro.
um yeah. So basically you yeah, cuz I found when I watch your streams sometimes in team tournaments versus like in 1v1s, you basically replace like the talking to your team aspect with like talking to your chat in
Exactly.
1v1s. So you like instead of narrating your thought process with picks with your team, like if it's a 1v1 tournament, you tend to talk to your chat. So
Exactly.
does that like help you with not getting nervous as well? Do you
I
think?
don't think so. To be honest, like I feel I in the past I used to play Osu off stream as well as on stream, right? I would practice off stream and then I would also stream it. But ever since I went full time, like I just found myself if I ever want to play Osu, I just stream it, right?
Right.
And I feel like it's gotten to the point where if I'm not streaming, I feel like I don't have that extra pressure to really give it 110%, right?
Okay.
So if anything, the fact that there are people there that it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, I have expectations on the expectations that could make me nervous, but on the other hand, without that expectation being there, it's hard to justify. Okay, it's time to put in 100% focus. Okay, it's time to try my absolute hardest on this one pattern, etc. Right?
Right.
So if anything, sometimes it helps. Sometimes it's like, yeah,
Okay. So like you when so if you were hypothetically to go for a score off stream, you like and let me know like how much you agree with this. Like you would sooner like give up in like pushing yourself to get that FC if like you weren't streaming it and there wasn't that, pressure or hype around you finally getting that FC on a map, for example.
um,
Because I
I mean,
know in some regards you've said that like you don't want the stream to get too boring if you're grinding for a score. So
right.
if you've spent like maybe 5 or 6 attempts on a map and you don't really get the run, then you kind of just move on.
Yeah,
But
I have the pressure to move on.
okay, but then like those maybe 5 or 6 runs that you do, you sort of try to put your all because again, partly because you don't want the stream to be boring, I assume, but
Yeah.
also just because of that expectation of the viewers that you're performing at your best and that you want to perform your best for them. So, do you find that there would be a difference if you played off stream in that sense?
I feel like I wouldn't be as focused to actually perform well. So yes, I do agree that in your situation that because I'm playing on stream, I like for those 6 runs I am like fully focused and stuff, right? But if I were playing off stream, I might not be as focused, but I'm more than happy to give it more runs just because I feel like it, right?
Right,
I constantly have to keep this balance between what I think is fun and what my chat would most likely enjoy for my stream, right? It's
right.
it's constantly finding a balance between the two. So
I see.
yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So I do want to explore some other aspect of nerve control a little bit, um, which is I know you mentioned actually shortly before the stream you were talking, or before this interview, you were talking about like treating nerve control as like a skill in itself that you
Yes.
and you sort of see that as like the optimal way to control nerves as opposed to just like not really caring. So
At
I
least
know
for my situation.
right, because there's some players who sort of say that the best way to not really get nervous is to just not care. And you
I hate that mindset.
yeah, could you explain a little bit?
Right. So like I just think it's fucking boring, bro. If you're going to put like if you're going to spend so much time into something, then like I guess if it's just for yourself, the main difference is that like there are people who watch me who want to see that sort of stuff, right? Who want to see like a player be passionate about something. Like
Right.
watching that sort of passion when you watch someone who has a genuine interest in something, who actually cares about what they're doing, that's really fun to watch. It's fun to still watch someone go throughout their journey, right? But I remember when I was watching other streamers and other YouTubers when they're playing the game, it's like it doesn't seem like they're actually having fun. If anything, it looks like that they hate the game in a way. They're like, "Oh, I didn't get the accuracy I want. Oh, I didn't get the combo that I want. Oh, I didn't even beat my old score. Oh, blah 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 blah." That's like, dude, like, and I see it from the perspective as a person who used to be like shit at the game. All right, I see like, oh my god, how did these guys do it? I remember when I first joined the game and I was watching Airson, then Gaze McGee back in the day, like in a multiplayer lobby. I'm like, dude, how does anyone play this? And I'm like, dude, if you're able to do this shit, do you not like feel anything? You know what I'm saying? I always like make these comparisons back to those days.
Okay,
Um,
I see.
and I'm like, okay, even now that I'm in the position where I'm actually a top player, I want to look out for those people who are still new to the game and show them, yeah, this game is still fun. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that I'm actually good at this game. And I want to show them, like, dudes, if you get it good at the game as well, you could also be like me and be like, hey, I could do this score like whenever I want. And it's
Oh,
fun
okay.
and it's cool.
I see. S
So I just really disagree with the mindset of going in like espresso depresso mode and being like, oh, I didn't get the double S. My accuracy was only 99.98. Fuck. I can't believe this, dude. I quit this game.
I mean, I think that that's sort of like there's definitely I think a slight difference between your mindset towards a score and like your nerve control methods, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The
So,
main difference is that I feel like the latter, how I describe as espresso depresso mode, the fact that they actually believe it makes it kind of lame. It's like following people who are like always depressed on Twitter. It's like I don't want to see that shit on my timeline, dude. I'm sorry. Like
okay,
I
I
already have
see.
enough stuff to deal with on my own. I don't want to watch someone else go through the exact same shit, right?
Right.
So I see it. A lot of it is just seeing it from a viewer standpoint. I want to give my viewers an experience that I would have wanted to watch myself.
Okay, I see. And so that sort of fuels your mentality of like not wanting to control or like not really feeling like it's like a good idea to control nerves by just like going depresso as you would say. Um
Yeah, I feel like it's a fair trade off.
okay. So in that sense, I think like how you end up controlling your nerves is that you do get nervous because you to some extent want to be nervous for about your runs and express that to your viewers. But you then control your nerves by like just learning how to play while nervous. Like
Yeah, exactly.
controlling your aim and tapping and reading while nervous without getting too shaky and without playing poorly.
Yeah, in some regards, it's sort of weird because I know how to control my nerves. That also gives me the ability to sometimes be nervous on purpose, but also like not be nervous when I don't want to. It's so weird because sometimes if I'm setting a score, if it may not be as hard, I'll like hype up the score. I'll be like, "Yo, bros, this combo's pretty good, dude. We could actually get like top 50 on this." And as I'm talking about this during like a break of the map, obviously because I'm saying it and I'm actually like thinking about it, that increases my heart rate. That increases my nerves. So like if anything, not only does it make it more entertaining, it also like makes me more nervous. But it's one of those judgment trade-off things where like, okay, do I believe that I can continue to set the score while knowing that by talking about this, it'll make me more nervous?
Oh, okay. Do you find that if you like sort of fabricate nerves in a sense, or like become nervous like for the sake of it, or like for the hype, does that like sort of like fakeness in your nerves affect is there a difference between that form of being nervous and you genuinely like really feeling nervous about a run?
I
Like,
wouldn't. I really. I don't think it's fair to call it fabricated nerves or fake nerves. It's one of those things where
or I guess
I don't
maybe
mind being
uh,
nervous. I understand that making a decision will make me more nervous, but it's not like I'm doing it for the sake of being more nervous. I'm trying
okay,
to like entertain my chat. I understand that'll make me more nervous, and that's just one of the things that happens.
right. Or I guess maybe a better way to word it is like self-produced nerves. Is
Sure.
that, does that sound better? Okay, yeah.
Well, if you do an action for the purpose of like what I'm trying to do is entertain my chat, but I just know if I entertain my chat, it'll make me more nervous. Is that like if you know that you have the option to go against it, but you know it's not in your best interest, is that still would you call that still like
Um,
how, yeah how you would describe it?
I think that's basically, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I think that that's besides the point. I think my point is that like when you like hype up a score and like
Mhm.
create a nervous environment as opposed to like it seeming nervous to you like from the outside in, if that makes sense. Like, is there a difference in how like you control your nerves in those different situations?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, at
Okay.
the end of the day, if I get nervous, I know what to do like as I'm playing to control it.
And what are those
So
things?
and it's like the breathing techniques, focusing on the actual game rather than like the actual futuristic thing. Because like as I'm talking about a play as it's happening, I'm talking about what'll happen in the future if I full combo, right?
Okay,
So when
I
I
see.
talk about it, obviously I'm thinking about it, and since I'm thinking about it, my nerves are going to be increased. But when I start playing the game, okay, I shouldn't think about the future. I should just focus on the present, breathing techniques after I finish talking, etc., and just carry on.
Right.
It's all the same at the end of the day. It's
Okay,
just when it happens.
I see. It sounds good though. That's actually, yeah. So I think to sort of sum up, I think you actually pretty much just summed it up yourself. The different methods that you use to control nerves. Um,
Yeah.
so
Just drink water.
true. Stay hydrated. um, so I so my understanding is that you like sort of become nervous, and then like you've sort of developed a way to not get too shaky to the point where it makes you play poorly. Is that
Hmm.
is that sort of something that you like had to develop over time, like as a skill, or is there certain like revelations that you had where all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, this is a much better way to control my shake in during maps? Or was it a very gradual process of like just struggling with shake over and over until eventually it wasn't a problem anymore?
I don't honestly know exactly how I play while I'm shaky. Like I understand like okay, once the nerves are like in full send mode and my hands are just like dying, sometimes I feel like I hit patterns I really shouldn't. Like I remember for Raise My Sword, I was so fucking nervous. I was thinking about the last jump. I was like, okay, even if I fucking hit this stream, there's no way I hit the last jump. Like the jump into the final slider. I
Oh
was like, there's
yeah.
no way I'm hitting that. And then I actually hit it. I was like, what? Like how? Like that made no fucking sense. Like I genuinely like sometimes I don't believe it. Sometimes like, dude, there's no way that actually fucking happened, dude. Like you can even look at my fucking cursor. There's no fucking way that I should have hit that last slider. I should have slider broke, dude. I should have. There's no. It doesn't make any sense. So I would argue that randomness does play a role, but honestly, when RNG is factored in, sometimes it makes things more exciting. So it's like, yeah.
True. So in that situation, for example, like at the end of Raise My Sword, was there anything in particular that you tried to focus on to make sure that you didn't get too caught up in things?
Nah, bro. I think back then I was just fucking panicking. I was just like, "Oh shit, I actually hit it." Oh, like every single stream that hit, I'm like, "Oh shit,
Okay.
oh shit."
Okay, I see. Oh my god.
That's probably why my heart rate went that high.
Oh my god. Um, okay, so actually, because I think we are approaching, I think it's been 45 minutes.
Oh, I
So,
see.
yeah, is there anything, any last comments that you wanted to make about nerve control? And those
Um,
of you who are in the Discord server, this is a good chance to ask a question for Ed if you have one.
what I do want to say is that a lot of this doesn't even tie specifically down into nerve control. This is all about managing stress, and managing stress is not something that's specific to Osu. Like this is something that will be useful for all impacts of life. That's actually one of the reasons why I really like Osu, because it actually, as you're developing the skills in order to improve at the game, you're actually also, I would argue, developing skills that'll help you throughout life. Like figuring out problem solving. You have an issue in one regard. How do you go about solving that issue in order to get to a solution that you want? In this game, gives you the challenge of okay, how do you get scores? How do you control your nerves? How do you get better aim, etc., etc., etc. But the problem solving, I think, is the best part. Specifically for nerve control, I do want to state that, like, for my specific situation as like a content creator, as a streamer, what I view as important, what I think in terms of nerve control, is extremely different for the average person. Like the average person doesn't have to care about a chat. The average person literally starts like freaking out if they get like one spectator that's like a bot. Like it's entirely different, right? Like, for me, for my situation, I know that you mentioned in your nerve control video, oh, this to prevent yourself from even getting nervous by lessening the information, shift tabbing, hiding all that shit. I
Oh,
have all
yeah.
that stuff all the time, right? Like
Right.
I have my score leaderboard open, I have my accuracy open because I think it's content. I just don't look at it, right? So I recognize that my situation is entirely different compared to everyone else, but I think the underlying principle still stands, that it's all about maintaining your stress, and that is something that is not specific to Osu. It is something that will, if you manage to learn and break down for yourself, it will benefit you in every situation throughout life.
It,
So yeah, that's it.
do you find that, like, you're, like, like, the how do I word this? Like, you getting better at nerve control in Osu and for your stream, like, how much do you think that has had an effect on, like, other aspects of your life?
Oh, tons, literally tons. So like I've contributed a lot of my problem solving ability from Osu, like figuring out, okay, it's not about getting frustrated over a problem and just like trying to find the answer like through Google and stuff. Actually questioning yourself, okay, for my specific situation, how do I go about fixing it? And that translates into anything, whether or not like I'm having an issue with a specific person, whether or not I'm trying to figure out how to fix an appointment, or scheduling things, or fixing things that like died. Like I was like fixing Albert's chair, not chair, his electric bicycle. Like I like to be
Oh,
the handyman, the problem solver man, right?
okay.
Figuring out ways to contribute to like with my roommates and stuff. How can I help my roommates develop a positive relationship, etc., etc., etc. It's all about, at the end of the day, if you learn how to problem solve, which I feel like I learned a lot through Osu, that will benefit you throughout the rest of your life. And I give a lot of credit of where I learned to do that by myself through Osu game.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I definitely agree that I think, like, there's a lot of lessons that are transferable through, like, improving at something in, like, one aspect of, like, your life, or for example, like, getting better at something in Osu. It's a very transferable skill sometimes, even though you might
I
not
agree. I've
realize.
actually talked about this with Albert, Box. Like, if you are good at one game, you have the ability to also play at a competitive level in other games because you know how to forge yourself into a player that can play at a high level. It's not about raw talent. It's about going through that repetitive cycle of questioning. Okay, not just like why you did something wrong, but how can you fix that to get better. because if there's in one hand, it's good to have resources out there that you can look towards if you have any issues. But if you constantly rely on someone else telling you how to fix your problems, there will eventually be a case where you have a problem specific for yourself. And if what do you do then? If you don't
Right.
know how to solve it yourself, then you're kind of screwed.
This reminds me of the whole like catch a man a fish, he'll have food for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll have food for a lifetime.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
So is that what you're getting at, basically?
Something like that. Yeah. At the end of
Okay.
the day, it does come down to back down to like those big old sayings, but it's funny because I truly believe that this game has taught me extremely valuable life lessons
Oh
that
yeah,
I will
same
carry
here.
into the rest of my life.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one question from Godza who says,
Good morning, Godza.
"Hey, I get nervous while playing a map over 5 minutes long. While either like if they're FCing or just holding a good score. Is that a consistency issue or a nerve control issue? So, like, if you're getting nervous specifically on marathon length stuff, um, more so than like shorter maps, do you think that's a consistency issue or nerve control?"
For me personally, I don't. I feel like it's a little bit of both, but at the end of the day, how I improved at it is like obviously, if you play more of a specific style of a song, then you will get better at it, right? So for me, I've always played. I've had this bias towards longer songs because I enjoy listening to the entire composition. I feel like for longer songs, it takes you on a journey when you're listening to it. It has its ups and downs. It has its slow parts, its intense parts, but it makes those intense parts that much more exciting to listen to and to truly feel that music, right? So for me specifically, since I enjoy listening to longer tracks, I play longer tracks, and maybe that through that experience, that's allowed me to get more experience. They're just like playing longer beat maps, developing that stamina, eventually having that transfer into more consistency since I'm not that inclined to retry or especially during practice or when I'm what's called when I do eventually do develop a larger combo, which will happen more often through just me sheer brute forcing over time of many years of playing. Maybe
Right.
those combos don't affect me as much anymore in terms of like nerves. So I feel like I would argue it does come down to playing more, but it's experience, right? Having the experience in and the I think it really is just experience.
Okay. So, would you say that like regarding long maps in particular, there is obviously a consistency element, but as far as controlling your nerves for longer maps, it really just comes down to like being used to the situation of having 1000, 2000, sometimes 3000 combo, and just like having that amount of combo over and over again until it's not as like surprising for you or like nerve wracking for you. Would you
So my problem is that like I feel like if you break it down too specific, it's hard to really like because you're saying 1, 2, 3,000 combo, but if you technically speaking, I think if I would argue any like player who's moderately experienced with the game, if they were to play a low difficult, like a slow starting map long enough, they could get that combo. I don't think it's specifically tied to the combo specifically.
Oh
It's
yeah.
more of a combination of all these different things. So it's hard to really argue specifically, okay, do I train this one specific area to improve this one specific skill that I'm struggling with? It's more of like a combination, and I feel like that's a little bit harder to explain, to lock down to a very specific thing to train.
Right.
So
So but
I
I
don't
think
know. That's why I bring it down. I break it all the way down to just practicing more of what you want to get good at,
right.
not just training one specific thing, but just practicing the general skill range of what you want to improve.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I think ultimately I do agree with that. The whole just getting used to because you said that you basically have just gotten used to like playing those long maps, and so doesn't really affect you with nerves. Is that
Yeah, sometimes I take it for granted, and I'll give myself a reality check. I'm like, oh shit, dudes, I have like 1,200 combo. That's fucking crazy. Shit. Because like it's one of those things. Like if you put yourself in a new environment momentarily, you get super impressed. But it's really easy to get jaded by that over time, right?
right?
But I really don't. I want to hold on to that vision of when I first experienced something, because I know other people experience that for the first time, and I don't want them to feel like their experience is lesser because I don't, like, I'm used to it, right?
Right.
So that's another situation that's mainly specific to me, though.
Okay. Yeah. That okay, sounds good. Okay, so I think I might take one or two more questions. So there is one from Wasword. Hello, Wasword. hopefully I'm
Ooh.
hopefully I'm saying that right. So they said when I get bad nerves, my finger control gets a lot worse. My fingers get super clammy and stiff, and it becomes very easy to miss on things like doubles. How could I adjust this?
Right. So this is actually, finger control really does come down to maintaining how tense your hand is, because I use this as a demonstration on stream all the time. If you literally take your hand and just like take your hand and tense it up, you find it a lot harder to just move your fingers. It's actually much more efficient if you just like keep your hand loose and just move them, right? It's just really hard to do that because of nerves. So what I just do is I just tell myself, just don't tense up. And that's it. If I feel myself starting to tense up, even if I like end up missing, I'm like, okay, it's time to relax.
Okay, so like if you do start tensing up from nerves, you sort of shift your attention over to like making sure that you're not tense.
I'll briefly be like, oh shit, I'm actually getting tense. Let me just relax. Sometimes it results in me missing, but over time, that sort of that bump, that transition from realizing I'm tense into relaxing isn't as jagged, and it won't be noticeable during gameplay.
Okay.
Another
Okay.
thing that you just practice over time.
Right. So yeah, okay. Sounds good.
I hope that helps, but I don't
Right.
know. That's kind of what I've done for myself. A lot of things that I've figured out that works for me. I'm not exactly sure if it'll work for other people. I'm just saying what I specifically do. I'm sure there are other ways that are even better or more efficient that could solve a sort of issue, but I don't know. I have the advantage of time on my side. We're like, okay, whenever I want to play Osu, well, guess what? I get paid to do
Oh my
it. So like,
god.
I can experiment with all sorts of different things and just do what works best for me. So
Okay, I see. So do you cuz I think we are about ready to wrap things up, I think.
yeah.
So any last little tips about nerve control before we wrap up?
Drink water. I love water. Water drinkers are objectively superior.
Okay. All
Stay
right.
hydrated, Briz.
Well, thank you again, Ed, for joining us today. Okay. Okay. And thanks to everyone who tuned in today, by the way. So if you guys missed it at the start of the interview, or if you're not really sure what this is, so all throughout this week, we will have a bunch of different interviews going in depth on nerve control. So tomorrow at 11 UTC, which is 7 a.m. Eastern, we will have our interview with Emrek, talking about nerve control. So look forward to that. And the full guest list, if you're interested in learning more, definitely join the OC University Discord server. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for making it this far, all the way to the end. Check out the channel and watch some of the other interviews as well. But yeah, also be sure to check out BTMC. I'm sure you guys all know who he is,
Hello.
but check him out. I think your Twitch is just BTMC, right?
That is correct.
Right. So yeah, twitch.tv/BTMC. Go check out his awesome streams where he gets nervous but knows how to deal with it because he's just a beast.
Good morning. Well, sometimes.
But yeah, thanks for listening, everyone, and see you next time. Ed?
Oh, am I supposed to say something?
You don't have
Thanks
to.
for watching, everyone. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Did you guys know that only 20% of people who are watching this video are actually subscribed? So be sure to sub. It is free and at no cost to you, and you can unsubscribe at any time.